this. All right, so I'm just going to start unless anyone has anything else they want to say before I go.
I'm good. I'm good too.
All right. Cool. And I'm going to hold this very, very steadily. Are you both wearing headphones by any chance?
I am, yes.
All right. I feel like there's a little static picking up, but that's okay. All right. Here we go. Hello and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England. I'm your host, Amelia. And today I am so excited. I'm joined by not one, but two co-hosts. The first is Will Fox, lead investigator of Long Island Paranormal Investigators, New York State Branch. Hey, Will, how are ya?
I'm here. I'm good. How are you?
Hey. And the second is Mike from Arizona, formerly from Massachusetts. Hey, Mike.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, I'm so happy you're here on, and we can all hear your voice now. We've been hearing your stories for months. This is great. And so we actually have Mike on because he's the one who suggested tonight's episode. And that is we're doing phantom phone calls, calls from beyond the grave, and I think this is just going to be really great. So, yeah, what is... So what this is when people oftentimes will have spirits connect to them through phone calls. And this is actually a phenomenon that has been occurring for a really, really long time. Since the start of phones, actually. And I have a cool clip right here that I found that talks a little bit about that history. And I'm going to freak out because I had it all queued up on my computer, but now I'm like, oh wait, your internet has unqueued it. Oh.
You would think that a media center would have good internet.
You would think that. Well, it's really cheap for me to be here, and
it's non-profit.
Some days you get what you pay for over here. Oh my god, I'm gonna freak out. Alright, so I'm just gonna start that over. While we wait for this to work itself out. Okay, so have either of you guys... Oop, is someone writing something?
Before I begin, I have just a quick appeal and reminder to...
Oh, gosh, hold on.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I hear you.
Okay.
Still here.
Good. I'm so sorry about this, Mike. This is... Usually I'm really unorganized, but Will can tell you it's not usually this unorganized. Okay.
This is fine. It's totally demystifying all the nervousness I had coming down to get on the show. Yeah, believe me, I understand that because I recently listened back to the first episode I was ever on, and it is so painfully awkward how nervous I was. It's very obvious.
No.
When I listened to the episode, I didn't hear that much of that at all. So.
No, I don't think you've ever sounded nervous on here. I think you've always sounded great.
I think you both need to take a re-listen of that episode and listen to my awful, nervous laughter.
No, it's been great.
It's charming. Something like that. So, while Amelia's tackling the technological stuff, I just want to say thank you again for inviting me on. Really appreciate it. And I was doing a podcast with a friend of mine back in Massachusetts before I moved. And since I've been out here, I've been trying to rack my brain about doing my own thing out here. And this really helped push me over the edge to put physically and literally all the pieces I have together so I can be like, oh, no, I can very much do this on my own out here. I have
Yes.
everything I need.
Yes. You should. Everyone should be podcasting all the time. I think that's great.
Yeah, it really is something like, well, obviously you've already done a podcast, so you know already, but like when I do Amelia's podcast, it's something I look forward to every week. It's awesome.
Yay.
I love co-hosting.
Yay. I'm so happy to hear all this. No, it's fun. And it's fun having everyone on. And yeah, that's awesome. What was your first podcast on?
It's called Bandology.
Bandology.
It's a music podcast with my friend John.
That's awesome. Yes.
Is it still on, or is it?
It's all up on. It's all up on SoundCloud. I don't think we had a bunch of backlogged episodes he needed to edit, and I don't think he's put one up in close to a year.
I got you.
Dang.
So, yeah. I mean, we banged out a bunch of episodes.
One of the
about
earliest
how I moved
reports of
across
Phantom
country
phone
with
call.
Lost Momentum, you know.
Yeah.
I got the website up there that I got to try and keep alive too, because that's a couple $100 out of pocket every year.
Oh man, but the website, that's the hardest part. I'm so bad at keeping up with our website.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to set up this one day to do like a website thing, and then it's like I drop off my daughter with her mom, and I'm like, nope, I am really tired.
My whole thing is I like start doing the website and then I just like forget about it for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden I feel like I like jam up everyone's feeds on all of our social media because I do like 10 posts in one day. Like,
I do
oh,
have
no.
to say, before we get off the topic of momentum, that I have to commend Amelia for keeping momentum after Beth left the podcast,
Ugh,
and also running a business at the same time,
thank
and then
you.
doing a podcast by yourself. That's I don't think I ever said that, but that's pretty bomb.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I am in awe of the energy that you put into the world.
It's been a little tricky without Beth, but luckily, yeah, we're keeping it up. We gotta figure it all out. It'll be fine. It's a good podcast. I know I want to keep it going forever. That's why I say to everyone, I'm like, honestly, if I could just podcast all day, then I would maybe make fewer crepes and just do more of this.
Can't deprive the world of crepes.
Someone would just pay me to do the podcast. I'd make a lot less smoothies. All right. Okay. So I think I have this queued up on that one. That one should be good. This one should be good. So I'm just going to try to start. All right. I am just going to start completely from the beginning because I am just going to do it that way. Okay.
All right,
We're starting over.
Test the YouTube clip first. Make sure it plays.
Yeah. No. It's buffering right now. It just hasn't
Okay.
finished buffering, so that's the other reason. I'm like, this will just be easy. Okay. Close this. Hello and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England. I'm your host, Amelia, and today I'm joined by not one, but two co-hosts. The first is Will Fox, lead investigator from Long Island Paranormal Investigators, Upstate New York Division. Hey, Will, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm here. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And the second is first-time co-host, but has contributed on the show before. We have Mike from Arizona, formerly from Massachusetts, on today. Hey, Mike.
Hello. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for coming on. Not only thank you for coming on, but thank you for suggesting this episode to me. I think it's a great idea. And thank you for all the stories you've been sending us for the last couple of months.
Thank you for reading them, and thank you for taking my suggestion for today, too. I really appreciate being part of the community of the show.
Of course, yeah. So let's get started. And the first thing we're going to start with is a little song clip to just get us in the frame of mind.
Your ghost is calling me on the telephone. I listen to the whispering tale unfold into romantic, tragic comedy horror show.
That is right. That song is called Phone Calls from Beyond the Grave by Love Songs for Lonely Monsters. And that is what we are talking about today. Phone Calls from Beyond the Grave. So, have either of you guys ever had that phenomena happen to you?
I can't say in my paranormal career it's ever happened.
How about you, Mike?
I don't know if I've actually ever had a ghost phone call, but I've definitely experienced a lot of weird. I did phone surveys for a long time, and I definitely experienced a lot of strange things on phone lines doing those calls.
I believe
And
that.
not just the people I talk to.
Oh gosh, yeah. Mike and Lauren, who co-host sometimes, they work in a call center and they get all kinds of weird stuff that happens. But I don't think they've had a ghost either. I, however, had something kind of phone related happen to me, and it's one of my first major haunting stories. So I was 16 years old in my parents' house, obviously, in the middle of the night, and I woke up just straight up. It was probably like around 3 a.m. and I just couldn't sleep. I turned my light on, and I remember looking at my cat, and all of a sudden my CD player started playing, and it started playing this band called the Plasmatics. And the song was called The Prince of Darkness. And it's this kind of like dark, like metal song. And all of a sudden my little flip phone rings. And I look down at it and it says I have a voicemail. And I'm like, that's really weird. So I go and I check. And the voicemail is me. And I'm talking on it. And I'm listening. And it's the first voicemail I ever left from my friend Sarah. About a year before. And I don't know what it was. It just like freaked me out that all of a sudden my CD player is going off on its own and I had already been awake and now my phone is sending me these weird messages. And anyway, I stayed up the entire night. I couldn't sleep. I kept my light on the whole night. And this was over winter break. We go back to school. My friend Sarah she lives between Boston and Ireland. And she came back from Ireland. And that evening that I got that message, her father passed away. Which was kind of weird. So I didn't know really what it meant. I didn't know if it was like I'm supposed to watch out for Sarah or just some weird kind of connection. But I can tell you that really freaked me out. I've never forgotten about it. Never, ever. It was too coincidental. It was too spooky for me.
That is quite the situation you were in at 16.
Right?
Yeah.
Little 16-year-old Baptist Amelia. I mean, it was really, really scary. So anyway, that's my phone call from Beyond the Grave, and it happens to a lot of people. We're going to talk about some of those instances today. Not only does it happen to a lot of people, it's been happening for a very, very long time. In fact, so long since before, right when phones were basically invented. So we're going to listen to a quick clip right now. This is from Phone Calls from the Dead, the documentary, which is a short documentary you can find online. I will link to it on our website. And so here we go. Here's a little history of haunted phone calls.
One of the earliest reports of phantom phone calls dates back to the early 20th century, when a London solicitor, David Wilson, received bizarre messages on a machine he had made himself from a wireless telegraph. Devised to use the Morse code system, Wilson's communication machine first received strange messages in 1913 when used by his friend. The signals were delivered in Morse as audible beeps. Astonishingly, the device continued to relay messages even after the receiving wire had been disconnected. With the help of a second witness, Wilson translated each message as they came through. The telephonic messages the machine received appeared to be meaningful. In January 1915, this was received. Great difficulty, await message, 5 days, 6 evening. Similar instructional phrases like wait until next Tuesday also came through. However, despite waiting, nothing ever happened that illuminated on the message's meanings. Confused as to why he was receiving such messages without any input, the solicitor invited researchers to inspect his machine and try to explain the source of the Morse code. No explanation and no source of the signal could be found. After publishing his experiments, David Wilson and his Morse code communications disappeared from the records. The case of David Wilson inspired others to ponder the possibility of electronic communications being delivered from beyond the grave. Some even took the idea further, purposefully constructing machines to aid in interdimensional communication. From 1920 to 1921, the English-born psychic medium and composer Francis Grierson claimed to have had detailed conversations with spirits on the other side by means of a psychophone. Far from speaking with any old ordinary Joe, Grierson published transcripts of conversations with Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Benjamin Franklin. These conversations were extensive and intelligent, and by deviating from contemporary popular opinions, seemed to suggest insight and opinion unconstrained by the time in which they were received. In Grierson's own words, the psychophonic waves by which the messages were imparted are as definite as those received by wireless methods. As unbelievable as Grierson's reports may seem, he was far from alone in his claims. Telephonic communication experiments were something of a trend in the 1920s. With the help of his eldest son, British psychical researcher F.R. Melton designed and built a psychic telephone in an attempt to converse with the dead. He even published a booklet which described in detail the different components of the machine, as well as containing expected elements including a transmitter, receiver and battery. Melton's design included a balloon at the center, which was filled with the breath of a psychic medium. In 1920, during an interview for Scientific American, inventor Thomas Edison discussed his plans to construct a similar machine. In his own words, "I do claim that it is possible to construct an apparatus which will be so delicate that if there are personalities in another existence or sphere who wish to get in touch with us, in this existence or sphere, this apparatus will at least give them a better opportunity to express themselves than tilting tables and raps and Ouija boards and mediums and other crude methods now purported to be the only means of communication." When Edison died in 1931, the fate of this invention was unknown. Some records suggest that he did indeed build a spirit phone, but that it failed to produce results. Whatever the case may be, no blueprints for any such apparatus designed by Edison are known to exist. In modern times, one can see the use of so-called ghost boxes, EVP recorders.
All right, so what do we think about that? We have phone devices with the breath of a medium being pumped into them. We have Thomas Edison talking about this stuff. It's kind of wild.
Amelia, I have to bring this up. You know we can't hear it, right?
No.
Yeah, we just, at least I can. I don't know if...
I could not hear it. I could not hear it either.
Are you fucking kidding me?
For a good couple minutes. Same thing with the song earlier in the episode.
Oh, God.
I mean, I could say generic stuff about it if you want, but...
Yeah, just say generic.
I'll just say, yeah, it's pretty interesting. It makes me really curious about this.
Yeah, say that.
Okay, great.
I agree.
Oh, my
yes.
God. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
The whole time I was wondering, I was like, she probably thinks we're listening to this. I was about to message Mike, like, you can't hear anything, right?
Yeah, I was going to say something. I was like, we can't hear this, right? No. Okay.
All right, well, we just got to get going on this episode. All right.
Do you want to try a quick test, really something on my computer here? Let's see if you guys can hear this. No, because it mutes my media player when I have Skype Live. Okay, so never mind that.
Yeah, because my computer is plugged into the sound system.
How about this? How about you just tell me or us what you think we should be saying?
Just say, yeah, that's really incredible, and it's too bad that Edison didn't make that.
Got it.
Okay, you can say it now.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. It really is a shame that Edison never really got around to making that.
I totally agree, because that would have been awesome. But you know what? Now someone else just has to get on the ball and take care of it. Okay, so now that we know a little of the history, let's take up to some more modern times. And I have a few stories here. I know Will does too. We have a couple of clips. So this first one comes from an article on the Thought Catalog called Visits from Beyond the Grave. A close friend of mine, we'll call her Jackie, tragically took her life at 19 years old. She was a bit older than me and was wildly creative, mischievous type that loved to play pranks and had a constant sparkle in her eyes. I always looked up to her. Ever since she passed, I would call her old phone number when I was having a rough time, just to talk. Every time I called, my phone just beeped until a pre-recorded, "This number is unavailable, goodbye," came on the line, and I would hang up shortly after. Jackie's mother had canceled her cell line very shortly after her passing, and the message played for a few months after she died. As time went on, I called Jackie's number less. I felt the need to break so I could heal. One night, though, I was in a tough spot, and I called her number around midnight or so. I got the same dial tone and pre-recorded message as usual, but it still helped me feel like she was there with me. I went to sleep shortly after, and that was that. A few hours later, I half woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. I ignored it, barely consciously deciding I'd call whoever back in the morning. When I woke up, my heart skipped a beat and my caller ID read, "Missed call from Jackie," with the timestamp of 3:12 a.m. My first thought was that her number had been reassigned to someone else after being inactive for a few months. However, when I called back, I was still met with the same dial tone. I felt a weird feeling come over me and figured I could call the phone company for some answers. Maybe her parents still had the SIM card in the phone or something, and it just got bumped. I knew it was unlikely, but I just wanted an answer. And I also didn't want anyone getting upset by a missed call from her number too. So I called AT&T. And while he told me that he could not provide an exact record of calls made from Jackie's phone for privacy reasons, he could tell me that the number had not been reassigned and would not be reassigned for another 6 months. Feeling stranger by the minute about the whole situation, I figured I would have to reach out to her older sister on Facebook. I messaged her explaining I had gotten a call from Jackie's cell phone and was wondering if there was any way her phone had been moved or triggered a call somehow. She told me the last time the phone had been moved, it was moved into a small concrete box with some of her other belongings sealed and placed inside her grave. I firmly believe it was Jackie playing one more prank from beyond the grave, calling back in to check on me. I was far more happy than scared. What do we think of that?
That's a very sweet story.
Yeah, that's a very heartwarming one.
It is heartwarming. That's a cute one.
I think there's a lesson to be learned in that one also. I think we all learned that you can never call the phone company for any kind of answers.
That's true. Oh, gosh. No, you're totally right. Yeah, but that's a nice one. I liked that one a lot. And right around 3:12 a.m., you know, witching hour. Spooky stuff.
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, baby.
Spooky,
That's
spooky.
always when I wake up in the middle of the night.
Ooh. Spooky, spooky.
You might want some sage by your bed.
Yeah. Have some black tourmaline there.
Last time I burned a sage stick, it went all the way through and I had a massive allergy attack, so I had to do some reevaluation afterwards.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Some Palo Santo. All right. It won't burn as fast. Okay, Will, did you have one you wanted to share next?
Yeah, I do. This one Yeah, I guess this is considered a story. Usually, I like getting like articles and stuff, but this one's more of a story. So this one is from mysteriousuniverse.org, and it's about. I've never heard of this person, but he's a best-selling author, and his name is Dean Koontz. So this one reads. One of the most high-profile accounts of a call from the dead was made to none other than the best-selling author, Dean Koontz, which he would later explain to author and biographer Catherine Ramsland. Koontz claimed that one day he received a phone call. Koontz claimed one day that he received a call from his Oh, my goodness. See? Mike, you're going to see how many times this takes me. Koontz claimed that one day he received a call on his unlisted office phone, and that when he picked it up, he could hear a voice from a woman who sounded like as if she were far away. Koontz explained that the woman spoke out with great urgency, giving the simple yet chilling statement of, "Please be careful." When Koontz asked who it was, the voice did not acknowledge him, but rather repeated the same warning 3 more times. The voice started to fade into the distance, after which the line fell silent, leaving the author to sit there pondering what he had just heard. Eerily, he would claim that this voice sounded exactly that of his mother, who had passed away 20 years earlier, and he remarked it was such a strange call. 2 days later, Koontz went to visit his father at the mental facility, where he was being treated for unspecified, quote-unquote, behavioral problems. Allegedly, when Koontz entered the room, his father inexplicably lashed out at him with a small knife. The author was able to wrestle the weapon away and claims that when he exited the room holding the knife, he was confronted by armed police officers who ordered him to drop it. Koontz, who was still bewildered by the fact that his own father had just tried to kill him, tried to explain the situation, but was warned that if he was going to... my goodness, that was a long sentence. I gotta start that one over. Koontz, who was still bewildered by the fact that his own father had just tried to kill him, tried to explain the situation, but he was warned that he was going to be shot if he didn't comply. Finally, he did drop the knife, and the situation was resolved, but not without sticking in his head forever. Koontz would later ponder whether the strange call he had received had been a warning from beyond the grave from his own mother. What do you guys think about that?
Ooh. I like that one. I like helpful ghosts.
That is pretty intense.
Yeah, that one's pretty substantial. That's one of the more meaningful calls from the dead that I've found in my research.
Yeah, and also, I mean, that poor guy. I mean, your dad tries to attack you, but, you know, at least you always got spirits watching out for you.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Being attacked by our parents or just having spirits watch over us?
I mean, both, right?
Both, yeah.
I mean, totally, yeah.
Yeah, relatable, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so the next one is... Let me get my notes back up here.
Oh, did we want to hit up the one that was actually the news article that I emailed you with?
Which one?
The NPR one about the 2 moms that were getting pocket dials from their respective dead children's phones.
I didn't get that.
I think I sent you that link. That was the one that I sent you that I prompted me to say, have you done a ghost call episode?
Oh, right. Yes. We should do that one.
Okay.
Do you want to read that one?
Sure. I've got it up on my phone.
Cool. Let's do it. Okay, so... All right, so our next is from Mike, and this is actually the one that inspired this episode.
Yes, this was an NPR story that I caught on the radio the other morning and seemed pertinent to the show, and I sent it over to Amelia through Instagram. This is about 2 moms up in Vermont who were put in touch with each other by their of course course, I'm getting mic shy, even though we're not live, right? It's about two moms up in Vermont who were put in touch with each other by their respective recently deceased children. So, two women living a couple dozen miles away from each other in Vermont both lost a child in the last decade. Both children, oddly enough, were named Sam F., and both have mothers now connected through an inadvertent phone call. Sam Francoeur was 20 when he died from an accidental overdose in 2013. His parents, Chris and Paul, lived in the Lester home Sam grew up in. One of the hardest changes they had to make, Chris said, was shutting Sam's cell phone off, and they did so about a year after he died. Another difficult change, going through the holidays without Sam. The Francoeurs have a family tradition of taking down the Christmas tree the last day of the year, and Chris knew December 31st, 2019 was going to be a tough day. All right, seeing if I need to skip over that dialogue part. Okay. So, the night before, Chris dreamed about Sam. This was a dream about grief, she said. This was about my missing Sam and going into another year and a decade without him, and so I asked him for a sign that he was still with me. The next morning, as she walked her dog, Chris heard her phone ringing. Even though the family had canceled Sam's phone service, his number was still on. Even though the family had canceled Sam's phone service, his number was still on her favorites list. When she saw it on her screen, she realized with shock that she'd been pocket dialed by her dead son. And it was ringing, and it was very early in the morning, Chris said. So immediately I hung up and stood on the back lawn and laughed and said, "Thank you for the sign, Sam. I needed that. That was pretty good." And she went on with the rest of my day. And I went on with the rest of my day. Over breakfast, Chris told her husband Paul about the call, and they laughed about it. Meanwhile, in Castleton, a call from an unknown number nagged at Peggy Summer. She had been assigned for Sam's old number, and she said she normally didn't answer numbers she didn't know because she doesn't like telemarketers. And then all of a sudden, a text message came in on my phone, Chris said, and it was the image that had been on my phone for years of Sam. And then all of a sudden, a text message came in on my phone, Chris said, and it was the image that has been on my phone for years for Sam, and it said the text message was from Sam. The message asked the question, "Who's this?" I cannot express how much of an emotional shock that was, Chris said. As unrealistic as it seems now, there was a sudden hope, there was sadness, and there was, what do I do now? Her hands were shaking so badly she had to hand her phone to her husband, Paul. I actually felt nauseous, Chris said. What if the person on the other end of the line told me to delete Sam's number and never call back? But Chris didn't want to be rude, so she typed back, My name is Chris. Your number used to belong to my son Sam, who passed away in 2013, and I pocket dialed the number this morning. Sorry for bothering you." Chris also asked, "Who are you?" And that's when Peggy's phone pinged with a response to her message. She had to read it a couple of times. First, I thought maybe someone was pulling a prank on me or something, and then it wasn't. I wanted to let him know that I was all right, because I was in the same situation as she was, on losing a child. Peggy's 23-year-old daughter, Samantha Forrest, had been killed in a car crash in Castleton in 2016. Chris Francoeur immediately responded, and then we just started texting back and forth, Peggy said. And with each text, Chris, Paul, and Peggy's disbelief grew. Both kids were called Sam. Both had the same last initial F. Chris and Peggy found out they lived less than 30 miles from each other and that their kids were nearly the same age. Samantha had graduated from Fairhaven Union High School in 2010, while Sam had graduated the same year from Otter Valley Union High School in Brandon. It was weird, Peggy said. I mean, it was such a coincidence. Both kids had a younger sibling, and they were extremely close to. Both loved to hike up nearby Mount Zion, and both had favorite photos at the exact same scenic overlook. The two even loved the same music. In fact, Sam and Samantha actually knew one another, their parents said. We found out through the course of going back and forth, our kids had met, and they used to hang out together in Castleton, Chris said. When you asked Peggy and Chris to describe their Sams, they used similar words: free spirit, nature loving, non-judgmental, and fiercely loving. Peggy said people had suggested that she go to support groups for I'm great at this too.
Take your time. Totally take your time.
Peggy said people had suggested she go to support groups for grieving parents. She tried, but didn't help, she said. But a chance connection with another grieving mother who lost a child so much like her own, Peggy said, that felt good. We pretend a lot that we're happy, she said. But in actuality, you always got that loss, that empty feeling. And she knows, you know? Let's skip down a little bit. Trying to truncate this a little bit. While Chris and Peggy have become Facebook friends and chatted online, they haven't met face-to-face. Both of them said they're looking forward to it. And in the meantime, Chris and her family are planning to change their phone contact list by adding Peggy's name to Sam's older number. Chris said she knows it's Peggy on the other end, but I could not look at my favorites list and not see Sam's name there. So that's kind of heartwarming. The two children that knew each other, getting their grieving mothers in touch with each other to help each other.
That is heartwarming. That's the universe in action.
That's pretty crazy. That's either an amazing coincidence or true evidence of exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Synchronicity.
Yes, I don't think that could possibly be a coincidence. That's too much. I like that a lot. That's really sweet.
Well, now I feel bad because you guys are bringing heartwarming stories, and I'm just talking about a guy who almost got killed by his dad.
We got to flip it back and forth. Make you good, make you feel bad, make you laugh.
Leave it to me to bring you straight down.
Okay, so next I have an article here about a woman who receives an unusual voicemail on her answering machine. So, and I have the recording of the answering machine too. So here I go.
Wait, Amelia.
Yes.
Can you explain what an answering machine is?
So an answering machine, for those younger listeners like Gabe, hi, is an old device that you used to have next to your landline, and it was on tape. And yeah, I guess none of us really use those anymore. No one even makes phone calls anymore.
I'm going to be a nerd and just reach over to the table next to me and shake that sound, and that is actually a micro cassette that would have been used in an answering machine in the 90s.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody's dating themselves.
Otherwise, I wouldn't date at all.
Oh gosh.
I got to bring the dad jokes, right?
Okay, so if you guys want to, while I'm reading this off, I sent you through Facebook the YouTube clip of this. So
I see it.
Yeah, so if you're able to mute Skype, then you can kind of listen to what that is while I'm reading. Does that make sense?
That sounds good.
Let me cue that up. Hold on a second.
Well, I'm just going to mute out while mine's loading.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to hear. You're going to be able to hear your message tone in the audio too. I forgot to mute my TV. Actually, you know what? Let me do that now. Hold on 1 second. Oh, that's not the right one. Oh, that's definitely not the right one. Ah, shit. Fuck, I just changed the source on my TV. Give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
I'm ready when you are. I'm going to mute now.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. And this one comes to us from weekendweird.com. After missing a series of telephone calls from her elderly mother's landline, a woman known only as Judy played back the recorded messages on her answering machine, only to receive a terrifying shock. The garbled voice whispering on the other end of the line sounded all too familiar, like a ghost from her past. Literally. According to Judy, her childhood was the scene of frightening displays of paranormal activity. Her sister would often collapse and speak in tongues. Mysterious noises plagued her home. And at one point, the activity in the house got so bad, a priest was actually called in to do a blessing on the property. All of these incidents seemed to stem from their bathroom, where a ghostly voice would whisper her name from the shadows. What alarmed Judy the most about the mysterious message was the sound of a deep male voice whispering the name, Judy. Under the choppy static, the voice sounded exactly like the one that had stalked her in her childhood home. Judy asked her mother if she had accidentally left the message, but the elderly woman was adamant that she hadn't even picked up the phone that day. Some listeners to the message have suggested they could even hear snippets of warning hidden in the audio, saying things like hide, go to the house, and hurry. Others reported feelings of dread while listening to the message, as if it was coming from a dark, malevolent spirit. So I'm going to go ahead right now and play that voice recording, and you can all kind of tell me what you think about it. So here we go. Okay, so guys, what did you think of that?
That was interesting. So I would have to hear this a couple more times for me to truly decipher any like actual voices that I'm hearing. But I feel like at one point, I definitely heard like I think I heard "We need to go back."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that was it was right toward the end of it. Yeah, I want to listen to that again on my off time and really decipher that one, because there was a lot to listen to on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I didn't really hear anything in it, but yeah, that's a really intense audio artifact to sit down with. I don't know. It was creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's definitely spooky. So the first few times I listened to it, I didn't hear much until the end. I hear someone say Judy twice at the end, but that's about all I got. But yeah, that's an interesting one. So that's a recording of one, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's always cool when these get recorded, because a lot of these times, like a lot of the stories that I see, there's no physical evidence of it, because, you know, as if anyone would get a phone call, you just answer it, you don't think anything of it.
Right.
And nobody thinks to record them, and a lot of them are just lost. So, you know, answering machines and voicemails might be pretty soon the only evidence we have that these even exist.
Well, that is an excellent segue into our next one, because yes, it's true. People don't even make phone calls anymore. Why would a ghost make a phone call? Why make a call when you could just send an email? This next story has been internationally famous, and we're actually going to listen to some clips off of the BBC about it. So in June 2011, 32-year-old Jack Fronze... No. How do you say his last name?
I say Froze.
All right, I'll say that then. In June 2011, 32-year-old Jack Froze of Dunmore, Pennsylvania, died without warning. The cause of death was found to be that of a fatal heart arrhythmia. Froze's passing left his close-knit family and group of friends completely devastated by the loss. But 5 months later, his close friend Tim Hart received an email from his late friend. And soon after, another email popped up in the inbox of Jack's cousin Jimmy McGraw. One logical answer to this could be a service called Dead Man's Switch. This website allows users to send emails on a regular basis after death. The pre-written emails are sent at regular intervals to specific email addresses. The problem with this, however, is that there would be no way of knowing if Froze had actually signed up for the service, and not only that, his death was random, so why would he do that anyway? Not only that, but no one in the friend circle or family believes anyone has the password to the email, and there's nothing else has happened outside of these 2 messages. So, now let's go ahead and listen to this interesting one from the BBC. And you both heard this before, right?
I did not check out the BBC audio.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
Okay. I'm just going to copy that's spooky.
Mirror Huffington. No, I don't have it in one of my links either.
Okay. I'm going to send you right now. So I have the timestamps that I'm going to play on there too, that I just sent to you guys.
Okay. I'm 45 and 3.
Okay, so if you guys can mute yourselves, I'm going to start playing these now.
Yep.
Thanks.
We switched.
Dang it.
Switched to Chevy. I switched for more room. We switched.
Why do we switch?
For adventure. For this.
See why people are switching to Chevy.
I'm never switching back.
Current qualified competitive lessees can lease this Equinox for around $199 a month. Or current competitive owners get $4,500 total cash allowance when you purchase.
Okay, so first we're going to hear from his good friend Tim Hart about the email he received.
One night in November, I was sitting on my couch going through my emails on my phone, and it popped up, sender Jack Freese. And I turned ghost white, and I read it, and it was very quick and short, but to a point that only Jack and I could relate on. It's right here, like it says, Jack Freese, I'm watching. And it said, I'm watching. Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your f***ing attic. And the clean your attic was the second to last time he was here. We went up to my attic. We were up here looking at what we'd have to do if we ever wanted to finish it. The floor is just dusty. And he's like, better clean this attic before I get up here. Just he and I up there. That's it. So I showed my wife, and we were talking about it. Then to find out a few other people had also received these emails.
Basically was like a brother to me growing up. Showed me a lot of things throughout life. His death was extremely tough I had an email from Jack. The email was sent actually November 21st at 10:30 at night. It just said, "Hey, Jim, how you doing? I knew you were going to break your ankle. Tried to warn you. Got to be careful." And then it was signed Jack Farice. I had broken my ankle actually about the week before, walking out the door on the way to work, and really didn't see anyone besides a couple friends, a couple people in my family. That was it. I would like to say Jack sent it, just because I look at it as he's gone, but he's still trying to connect with me and still trying to tell me things to move along and feel better.
So that second clip was from Jimmy McGraw, Jack's cousin. And that makes it even more interesting to me, because how would he have known his cousin was going to break his ankle? What do you guys think of that story?
Yeah, that's pretty compelling also. I like not only that, but the clean the attic thing. That was just specific little things like that add up. You know, at that point, that can't be a coincidence.
No.
I mean, it's one thing. It's one thing to have like a scheduled email delivery of like a joke, like the clean your attic, like that was an inside joke between the guys. But then to have like the predictive, are you going to be careful of hurting your ankle or breaking your ankle?
Yeah.
That kind of pushes it over that it's something else.
Not only that, but even if it was a joke email between the two of them, like why would he schedule an email if his death was sudden? You know, like he could have just easily sent that email himself. Why schedule it?
Right. I totally agree.
Exactly.
Very, very spooky. Okie dokie. So, Will, did you have one more?
I do have one more.
Okay. So, Will, what do you got
one,
next?
What's up?
I said, so, Will, what do you have next for us?
So this next story is from the same website that I brought up before, mysteriousuniverse.org. This is, and I think Mike even read up a little bit on this case. This is one of the more famous cases of phone calls from the dead. This is about Charles E. Peck. And you did a little research on this too, Mike, right?
Yeah, this is where our research overlapped.
Yeah. So this one's interesting. This is one of my favorite stories. It doesn't exactly have a nice ending, but it definitely it's very well covered and very popular. So it says, one of the most famous cases of calls from the dead occurred on September 12th, 2008. On this day, a Metrolink computer. On this day, oh my God. On this day, a Metrolink commuter train was oh my Lord.
You got this.
On this, there's a lot of big words in this sentence. On this day, a Metrolink commuter train was involved in a catastrophic fatal crash with a freight train as it ran through the Chatsworth district of Los Angeles. The disaster claimed the lives of 25 people on board, one of which was a 49-year-old man named Charles E. Peck. In the hours after the tragic disaster, a total of 35 calls were made from Peck's phone to various friends and family, including his fiancée, sister, son, and stepmother, all of who reported picking up the phone only to hear static, and also said that return calls simply picked up on the man's voicemail. The cell phone signal from Peck's phone eventually led to the discovery of his body, and it was determined that he had been killed instantly on impact. However, eerily, the calls had been made from his phone over the course of 11 hours after the crash, up to 1 hour before the body was found, when they suddenly stopped. Oddly enough, the signal... Hold on a second. This doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know why they put oddly. Although the signal had led rescuers to the body, it is unclear if Peck's cell phone was ever actually recovered. some articles on the matter have eerily claimed that the phone was never found, but in reality, the authorities simply made no mention in finding it, rather than specifically saying they hadn't found it, which is different. Whether it was really found or not, rather strange is it that Peck's phone had simply been damaged and... Hold on. Whether it was really found or not. This doesn't make any... Hold on, I gotta, modify this sentence real quick. Okay. The strange thing is, if Peck's phone had really been damaged and was malfunctioning, then why is it only contact the people closest to him and no one else? After examining Peck's body, the coroner was unable to find signs that Peck had survived for any amount of time after the crash. The final call from Peck's phone came from 3:28 a.m. His time of death was 4:22 p.m. the previous day. When the calls were made, he was already dead.
Wow.
What do you guys think about that?
I think that one is amazing. And again, I also think it's kind of interesting that all these, people are very clear to note that the calls are either coming in or in this case ending right around the 3 a.m. mark.
Yeah, that's a good point that I didn't really pick up on. Yeah, 3:28 a.m.
Yeah, and I think it's really important what they pointed out, which was the calls were only going to the people closest to him.
Right.
It's not like some random business associate was getting these calls. It was his close family and friends.
And one of the first things I had thought, just being skeptical of everything, one of the first things that I had thought was maybe somebody somehow, at the scene of the crash, maybe found his phone and was calling everybody, just a person doing it. But if that was the case, then the people who were getting the calls, if they had called them back, they wouldn't have just gone straight to voicemail.
Right.
They say they didn't ring at all. They just went straight to voicemail.
Right. So...
Yeah. And it going straight to voicemail kind of debunks my skeptical thought, which is somehow the phone gets damaged in the impact of the accident, that it just kind of starts cycling through speed dial numbers.
Yeah.
And, but if it's just going straight to voicemail and it's not returning, but
right, no,
it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting one. Okay, so I think there's only one more left for the evening, which Mike found this clip. Thank you, because it is from my favorite show. And this clip comes from us on October 30th, the year 2003. So, Mike, do you want to tell us what this call is about?
This is the Ghost to Ghost.
This is Ghost to Ghost with Art Bell.
Oh yeah, so this is a great crossover clip because not only is it Art Bell in a ghost call, but it also involves a Ouija board.
I know.
So it's kind of it's just everything all at once. So it's a young man who was playing with a Ouija board by himself and
Don't do that.
Should I spoil it or should you play it?
We can just play it. I purposely kept this one at the end as a warning to everybody. So here we go.
Yes. Oh, also he was playing with the Ouija board by himself.
Right.
Which is always a bad idea.
Yeah, you do not want to do that. Okay, here we go.
What I was doing is I was playing with a Ouija board alone, long time ago.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. And I began having an argument with the planchette. Well, I thought, this is nonsense. This is my own energy. There's nothing in this. And at one point, every time that I would push the planchette to the S, the phone would ring. And so I asked the board if it were in fact ringing the phone, and it moves to the yes position. Well, I ran across the room to answer the phone. The phone kept ringing, and there was it was a crackling line. It sounded, the voice was distant, miles away,
yes.
Ancient voice, and it says, "You shall," and I didn't have the guts to listen to it. I hung the phone up. And For the next 7 years, this phenomena have been happening in my life. For example, I'll pass by cars.
Haven't you forevermore, if I can stop you, wondered, you shall what?
I don't know.
How could you hang up?
I really did not want to know. I didn't want to hear what it was going to say.
Okay.
But it is a warning. Don't, I've had an aversion to the paraphernalia of the occult ever since. And I think, there is...
I have a lot of respect for Ouija boards. I've had an experience with one myself, and I won't even talk about it.
Okay, so there is that one. And hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to play it again so that way Will can hear it. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a short clip. It's only 1:15. So here you go. I'm just going to play it again for you on my phone.
Okay.
What I was doing is I was playing with a Ouija board alone.
Can you hear it?
Long time ago.
Bad idea.
I don't hear anything now.
All right, hold on.
Actually, Will, what's your email?
It's william.f.fox@outlook.com.
William.f.fox@what.com?
Outlook.
Okay, so I just forwarded the information over to you.
All right, let me check that out real quick. That was a good on-the-fly breakdown of it, though, the message.
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you.
Let's see.
So how long do you have the studio booked for, Amelia?
Till 8 p.m. So we're going to wrap this up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Let's just. I'm going to go with the little breakdown that you gave me because I don't see the. I'm probably waiting for the email to come in, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay.
It's got an attachment on it, so it'll be slow, right?
All right. So what did you guys think of that one?
Well, when I was on my lovely commute across Phoenix, and that story popped up, I was really excited to share that. As we were already talking, I think we were already talking about. I was already talking to you about doing some research with this episode,
yes.
And then I told you I found that clip, and I had to go snip that out of the episode and send it over. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. He was teasing the ghost or spirit on the other end, and then he got that menacing phone call. What did it say again? I'm totally flaking on what the spirit said before he hung up.
Watch out for, and then he hung up.
Yeah, and then the spirit said, "Watch out for," and then he just hung up the phone out of, shock or fear.
Yeah.
See, I three things out of this. One, great that it matches up with what we're talking about today with the phone calls.
Yes.
2, don't tease spirits, people.
Nope.
Don't. And 3, anything Art Bell is great.
Absolutely.
Say that.
And 4, don't play with a Ouija board if you don't know what you're doing with it.
That too.
That's how you bring stuff in. Oh, gosh. Well, does anyone have anything else to say about phone calls before we wrap them up?
I think I'm all good.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, I think this is a really fascinating topic, and just kind of scratching the surface, looking into it, there's so much out there to read about, and other podcasts and a lot of other documentation on these stories. So it's a pretty exciting subtopic in the paranormal.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It really is, and not only is it just interesting, but also looking into the scientific side of it, and this is just me as a paranormal investigator, just trying to figure out exactly how a spirit could even do this.
Right. I mean, especially interesting to me how it's gone from the old analog lines, which, with EMF readers, there's a lot of documentation on electromagnetic properties of spiritual energy, but to see how it's transitioned into the digital age and persisted.
I know.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're getting it in emails, and it is wild. So who knows? Maybe next we'll have ghost text messages. If anyone's gotten a ghost text message, right on into the show. ghostsendinginNewEngland@gmail.com. Okay. Well, thank you guys both so much for doing this. This is great. Thank you, Will, as always. Thank you, Mike from Arizona, for not only suggesting the episode, but doing so much research and coming on and talking to us about all of it. This is awesome.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. And I did get some drive-by ghostings this week, but unfortunately we are running out of time, so I'm going to save all of those for next week. We unfortunately had some technical issues, or should I say I had some technical issues at the beginning of the show, which kind of made us a little cramped for time. Really fast, before I forget, because I have been meaning to plug this for the last couple of weeks, and I just feel terrible about it. Extremely good friend of the show and co-host Jamie Day, that's Medium Jamie Day, is running an online program right now for the rest of the year 2020, and it's called the Community Growth Project. It's herself, it is other spiritual people in the community. They have people who do sound healing, people who are doing like Reiki stuff. There is yours truly, who is doing a monthly cooking video and holistic wellness. February, it's on Aphrodisiacs, so make sure you check it out. Have some little fun. And you can find that on her website. It's called the Community Growth Project, mediumjamieday.com. It's $11 a month to sign up. You get a ton of information, different modules to do, different things to practice. You get videos from all the contributors, and it's a lot of fun. And so please go support Jamie and her business. And it really is great. I've been doing stuff on there. Not even just making videos, but watching other people's videos and going through everything. And I'm having a great time. I feel like I'm stronger and manifesting my life, and it's really great. So again, mediumjamieday.com, or you can find her on Facebook or Instagram, and you can find her through all of my stuff. So there you go. Way to go, Jamie. Will, and Mike, do you guys have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, as always, I'm going to make this quick. My Instagram is Will_Fox_paranormal. The Long Island Paranormal Investigators website is LI-paranormalinvestigators.com. And then on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, you can find us at LI Paranormal Investigators.
Nice. Mike, do you want to plug your band?
Sure. Well, I'll plug the two projects. My band first. If you're into experimental noise music, I've got about 40 or so of my albums from the past 20 years up on Bandcamp. It's belltonesuicide.bandcamp.com. And I have it like ridiculously cheap if you download everything all at once. And also I have a kind of, I'll say, hibernating podcast with my friend John, who's still up in Greenfield, Massachusetts, called Bandology. You can find it on SoundCloud. And also we have the website bandology.org, which is also fairly dormant, but check it out for quick access to the show and archives. And I hope you guys check those out and enjoy them. And you can check out my Instagram, Belltone Suicide. That's just my band one.
Nice. Awesome. Well, great. We all got to go and check all that out right now. Okay, and to reach me here at Ghost Hunting in New England, you can find me online, ghosthuntinginnewengland.com, email ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com, on Twitter, ghosthuntingne, facebook.com/ghosthuntinginnewengland, or on my absolute favorite, Instagram, at ghosthuntinginnewengland. And you know what? What the heck? You can follow my personal Instagram, too, if you want to see a bunch of vegan food recipes with a little bit of ghost peppered in. That is ar.childs. And I think that's all we got for this week. As always, you can send us a carrier pigeon to beautiful, sunny Somerville, Massachusetts, care of Somerville Media Center. Hear us, I believe we're on at 10 p.m. Monday nights on Boston Free Radio. Thank you so much to Aaron Schilb down in Tennessee for writing our music. He has some shows coming up in New York City, which honestly, I know we have some listeners out in New York. So I got to get in touch with Aaron again and have him remind me those dates. I believe it's sometime in the beginning of April. And that should do it for it this week.
I think that's a pretty good community meetup.
I think so too. Nashville tour stop does New York City. I think we should all head on over there. I'd drive down.
Would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I'd drive down to see Aaron. That's no problem at all. Okay, so I guess that's it. Please subscribe to the show. Please tell a friend about the show. Please leave a 5-star review for the show. If you don't think the show deserves 5 stars, send me a message and let me know what I can do to make it a little bit better for you. Okay, so again, thank you to my co-hosts, Will Fox and Mike from Arizona. And as always, happy hunting. Okay, great job, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great episode, guys.
Yay, that was awesome. I'm so sorry. It was so the internet and everything else. But
it wouldn't be an episode of Ghost Hunting in New England if it wasn't.
it wasn't a shit show.
At least a little bit of it.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to save everything and run out of here before someone starts knocking on the window. Okay. And I will talk to you later. Thank you guys so much. And Mike, that was really awesome. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Really happy to do this. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no, this was awesome. We'll have you on again. This was great. Okay.
Great.
And
look forward to it.
Yeah. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.